everyone, and welcome back to Hate Spinnerbait, the podcast where we hate spinnerbait, but we love a change of plans. And today, as a little change of plans, we thought we'd have our friend Sarah on to chat with us about her new book.
Yes. Yeah, special guest. You don't just have to hear the two of us yab on today. For anyone who's not aware, if it's the first time you're ever joining the podcast, I'm Bethany. With me, as always, is Michael Ann. And with us, not as always, but very honored to have with us today, is Sarah Dessen. Of course, our wonderful, fearless leader, in a sense. This podcast wouldn't exist without her books. So, yeah. All right. Literally. So we have some questions, which Sarah has graciously agreed to come on and answer for us. Michael Ann, do you want me to take the first one today?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm so demure. Yes. I'm sorry. We're probably going to be very giggly because we're giggly girls. All right.
That's fine.
Obviously, new book coming out. As we all know, May 5th, change of plans. I know this is kind of like a softball question and probably something you've been asked a lot about it. We're very happy that A Restaurant Found Family is back. First of all, we just want to say
I knew you guys would like that.
Love A Restaurant Found Family. That is that's up our alley. But just overall, like, what inspired this book? Like, what was the little pebble of an idea that formed that got us to where we are now with a published book coming out in a couple of months?
Well, I think it's since the pandemic, I really wanted to write something about somebody who had everything laid out in a row, and then how things just always get blown up the minute that you think you've got it all figured out. And I don't know if you guys are like me, but I love a plan. Like, I love to buy a planner and write everything down in it, in January. Just like, this is exactly what's going to happen. And then I abandon it by like late February because nothing has gone the way that I want. And it's not neat and clean, like bullet journal, like I want to be that person, but I'm not. And so again, it does make me think sort of a little bit about the pandemic because, we all had all these plans of what we were going to be doing in the spring of 2020. And then all of that went out the window, and so many people's lives. I mean, some people in terrible ways if they lost loved ones, but even other ways where, you changed jobs, you switched where you live, relationships fell apart, relationships came together. So I sort of had that in mind. And it just worked out that, I love that sweet spot of the summer between high school and college, like that last summer that you're still, right before you go to college. So it sort of came to me about a girl who, again, this is the time when you think that you've got it all laid out, or you're supposed to, your senior year of high school. What's funny is I wrote this so long ago, but my daughter right now is getting ready to graduate from high school. And we have been through the college acceptance stuff, and it has just been such a roller coaster and everything. But there is so much pressure to know exactly what you want to do with your life at 18, 17 years old, so I knew that I wanted to write something about that, but sort of like writing about the pandemic without writing about the pandemic. And I also kind of thought there is a time when you have all these plans and you think you know what's going to happen. And then when it all falls out underneath you for the first time, you have to be in the moment because there's nothing else. It's like that old monkey bar thing. You're swinging from one monkey bar to the other, but you can't see the bar until it's right in front of your hands, So that's where a lot of this came from. And then when I've been talking about the book, I've been saying, in fall of 2020 or 2019, I had just switched publishers. I had this Netflix deal. I was feeling like, this is great. I'm moving into the next phase of my career. I'm just going to get to coast for a little while and enjoy all this movie stuff. And instead what happened is we had a global pandemic, and I parted ways with my publisher. The Netflix deal spawned one movie that I love, but then the other two never happened. So it was like, I thought I had this whole thing laid out. And instead I found myself sort of back at square zero without a publisher in a market that really wasn't that open to what I was doing anymore. But I do think that life takes you where you're supposed to be, even if it doesn't feel that way all the time. And so I think I'm supposed to be here talking with y'all today, just in general. So that was a really long answer to your question.
No, that was great. I liked it. I enjoyed it. You never have to apologize about being long-winded on this podcast.
Okay, well, I was going to say, feel free to however you like. I hope that you will.
We actually...
That's all.
Your question kind of, which we thought this was going to happen. We literally, Mike Land, when we were discussing this, we were talking about the last time that we met up, like so many times we'd be talking about something and it would span into a follow-up question. So we're like, we know that like things are going to, so I think that kind of, we had this kind of already written out, but you kind of talking about like it being 6 years since the last, obviously since like 7 years, 2019. 2019 is 7 years. Math is hard. I'm still in 2025, y'all.
That's okay. Me
4
too.
months into this year.
I don't know what day it is right now. I'm with you.
Yeah, 7 years since the last book was published. We were kind of, Mike Land and I, every time we read a new novel on the podcast, we do what we call time travel to go back to what was happening in pop culture in the world and whatever when that book came out, just to get us like in the right mindset. So with that said, you kind of talked about like how the pandemic changed things. And one of the questions that we kind of were curious about is like the world is a totally different place than it was the last time, 2019, the last time that your book was published. How does that like affect your writing? Do you like to keep that kind of separate from it, or does it kind of like trickle in a little bit into when you're writing about, coming of age and all that kind of stuff?
I think it comes in more thematically than specifically. I remember when I was starting this book, saying something, this was like before I started, but like, would you want to read a book about the pandemic to like my Twitter followers? And invariably people are like, no, I don't want to read a book about the pandemic. Like, I don't want to relive this. This is terrible. Like, I don't want to. So again, it's sort of like you can address the changes and you can address sort of the divisiveness and things like that have happened in our country. I mean, I don't get very political in my books, but I think you can address how things have changed without specifically writing to that. And that's always been the way that I've approached it, because I think teenagers are the fastest to realize when you're pandering to them and when you're catering to them. And there's no point, especially with the way publishing works, to try to be current or keep up with the slang or keep up with the whatever's popular, because as I'm writing it, it's going to be, 2 years before it comes out, and it moves so fast. So that's why I make up a lot of the names in this universe that I've created of all these, like the social media apps and different things like that, so that they don't age in the same way. Because, and like, I know you guys are fans of Keeping the Moon, but like when I go back and look at Keeping the Moon, and we've got the Columbia Record and Tape Club, like nobody knows what that is. You guys are too young for that. So it's things like that writing now I probably would do, because it's like such of a time. But I can remember us having a whole argument about the iPod on the cover of Just Listen. Like, is this going to be current? Is this going to look really dated? But I think there are lots of great people that are writing realistic contemporary fiction, that are touching on everything that's happening. But for me, it's sticking to the big themes. And this is what I've always said about sort of the adolescent experience, like your friends and your insecurities about yourself and your family and your relationships with whoever you have crushes on or have relationships with, and not so much the nitty gritty of what that means for every generation, as much as sort of sticking to the big things.
Yeah, that's fair.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That like kind of answered a couple of our other questions.
Yeah.
But
I so knew this was gonna happen. I was like, we're gonna put something and then it'll come up in a different way.
That's good though. It's good. Yeah. We're getting it done. That's all that matters.
We are getting it answered one way or another, 100%.
Can you tell us where this one takes place? Like, are we going to be in Colby? Are we going to be somewhere new?
This is a lake book. Okay. So it actually, like the rest of the story, it takes place at the lake. We're at the lake. And it's a little similar to the rest of the story in that it is sort of about a girl who goes there not knowing her history. But in this case, she goes with her mother, who she's been estranged from. The book starts the day of high school graduation. And this girl, Finley, who is in a relationship with this boy, Colin, and they've been dating for 2 years. They're going to the same college. She knows exactly what everything's going to look like. They've got this whole summer planned out. But first, she has to go to the lake. She has to go to New York with her mom for 2 weeks. And her mom is not really in her life that much. Her dad has been the one raising her, and her mom is kind of there for a couple of weeks in the summer and a couple of weeks in the holidays. But her mom really wants to take her on this New York trip instead of going on the Disney cruise with Colin's family, which is what she really wanted to do. So she ends up, he goes off to the Disney cruise. She's preparing to go to New York. And then change of plans, it turns out that her mother has to return to this small lake town that she's from to deal with some family stuff that is going on that she's put off. So it's really just a total left turn from going to New York and wandering the streets and going to MoMA and seeing Broadway shows. Suddenly you're in this very small lake town with all these people you don't know who know you, which is a little bit sort of like the rest of the story. But again, this one, there is more of sort of a found family. And I think all of my books have an element of that, but this is literally that case, and it's so much about sort of, and I don't want to give away too much about what happens, but that the change of plans as far as the trips is the first thing that totally ends up being different. And then there are several other, dominoes that fall that lead Finley to a place that she never would have expected to be. And it all kind of blows up in her face. And so, but then she has one of these epic summers, which often you can't plan, Yes. I think anybody going into a summer being like, this is my summer, it's all going to happen, my daughter keeps using the word whimsy, which I just don't even know what to do with that.
It's very, very hip of the time.
It is. She's 18, and she's like, you're denying my whimsy. Like, I needed my whimsy. And I'm like, I don't even know what that means. But again, you think you're going to have your summer of whimsy, and then, something happens and you don't. Just, the older I get, the more I realize that really we don't know what's happening. Like, everything is changing every second, and it's all just wishful thinking when you make a plan, Yeah. So that's sort of the thing, and I have 2 books coming, 3 books in 3 years. So this book is coming out in May. The next one will come out next summer. It is set in Lakeview, and it centers around the club Bendo and the guy that owns that and his sister, the guy that runs it, and his sister. So that's a really fun book. This one's a little heavier because it has a lot of family stuff in it.
Yeah.
That one is all about music. So I'm really excited for that one too. I'm editing that one right now. And then the one after that, I'm not sure what it's going to be yet because I have like half of the book written, but I'm not sure what that's going to be. So yes, this is definitely a little book. I see this and the rest of the story as kind of being, paired.
Like sisters.
Sisters, yeah. But it is fun to kind of bounce in between all of these various places that I've created in my head.
Yeah. Yeah. The Dessen land, the Dessen universe,
that's right.
So to speak.
Yep.
I'm so excited to return to Bendo. You just got me real hyped.
Oh,
I was like,
I know. You guys are old school enough to know what I mean when I say it. Kind of, I feel like it's kind of bad. It's like, oh yeah, change of plans is great, but what about this next one? It's just
we are equally excited for change of plans. Again, we read Restaurant Found Family in the synopsis, and we're like, sold. We're there. Put the tie on the apron. Let's go.
I was a little worried about it because I was like, gosh, is it too close to Keeping the Moon? And I'm like, Sarah, Keeping the Moon came out in like 1999. Like, it has been a long time since that book came out. You're allowed to write about something, a little bit similar in terms of the restaurant thing. And it is fun. It's such a great way to set up a community and set up relationships. And again, this is something I've been telling my daughter because she's looking for a summer job. And I was like, you got to go get a job at a restaurant, or go get a job in retail. Go get a job where you work with people, where it's not just you sitting at a desk, But yeah, I think everything that people have liked about the other books, especially this one set in the summer, are all here. There's the music, there's of course a boy, there's 2 boys. There's, the friendship, and then there's all this sort of complicated stuff with family and how all these different stories, like who's telling the truth, who gets to carry the actual story of the family and what that means for everyone else in the family. So there's various levels to it for sure.
The drama.
I love all of the different mother-daughter relationships that you have in your books. Those are always such a great through line.
Yeah. And I think this one in particular, because to have a mom who left when a child was very young, in this case, Finley, I think was 4 or 5, when her mom kind of jumped ship and left her with her dad. It's a very, as a parent myself, it's hard to imagine, but I was really curious about what that relationship would be like, to sort of come back and be close with someone later in your life that you didn't have this shared language and all these experiences, or maybe a very sort of arm's length. It's kind of like I've written so much about people who are so close with their mothers that it's making them crazy. And this one is like, the mother is so far away that it's making her, like, so it just goes to show, no matter what kind of mother you are, people are going to have baggage. This is what I tell myself as a parent. I'm like, you just hope the baggage is not too heavy, whatever you're saddling your child with. That's our job, is like, everyone's going to have some baggage. There's going to be some stuff they want to complain about in therapy, and that's fine. You do you. But we're trying to prevent, like the really bad stuff as a parent. You don't want to do permanent damage. That's all you want.
Yes. Exactly. Yes. Okay. Speaking of, this is like kind of a segue, but kind of what you're just talking about made me think of it. This is something we've written down as well. So again, characters appear in different novels, and they'll show up again, and you're kind of like, oh, okay. So if this person is in this novel and they're, in college now, so we're kind of in the same timeline, like in your mind, what is the timeline? Because obviously these books have spanned coming out over, the last like 30 years, but some characters, creep up in other things. Obviously in this book, I'm hoping maybe we get a couple cameos from some of our beloved characters. Like, where does this book fit in your timeline? In your mind, what is the timeline of the verse, so to speak?
That's a really good question. I mean, in some ways, I feel like I don't have a good enough answer. In some ways, I feel like they're running sort of concurrent, like these summers could all be happening. And that's, again, the timelessness of trying not to set it too much in one specific place. But then, like, between someone like you and this lullaby, I have a child growing up, or a child getting older, Grace Haley. So, I think it's hard when a book comes out, if I was going to write about Morgan and Isabel now, they wouldn't be 25, they would have to be like in their 40s or something. And I kind of hinted at that, I think, in, which one is it? Oh God, see, my brain is just
Along for the ride.
What happened to Goodbye, I think. They pop up with McLean's mom.
Yes.
I think they're friendly with McLean's mom. Yeah. So, so in my mind, it is a fair amount of time passing through certain books, but like I would think between the rest of the story and this book, it's probably a summer, maybe 2 summers.
Okay. So like in the same vein of that timeline.
Yeah,
okay.
In the same vein, especially the later books, the last few, I feel like, because as I'm writing them, I'm always thinking that they're taking place the summer that I'm writing them or the summer right after, like this, in my mind, this book takes place now, like the summer is starting, people are going to start reading it, and it's happening that summer.
Present day. We're in it right now. That makes sense. That does make sense. Okay. So also we kind of talking about the worlds and the different people we talked about this a little bit last time. We met up with you about how we love a good side character, and we love the like detail and attention to the point that we're like, give us a Christie novel, give us a Deb novel, like that kind of stuff. Who is like the character besides obviously our main protagonist that you are like most excited for readers to like meet in this novel? And we won't say it's your favorite, but
I know. Well, it's funny because normally there is a sort of BFF friend who, starts out as a more opposite kind of person. Her name's Lana, and she works at the cafe, and where Finley has had this very sort of, even with her mom being out of the picture, she has a very round, complete family home life with her dad and her stepmom and her little siblings. And then her mom is very attentive. Whereas, I sort of love writing about kids that are not so fortunate and maybe are coming from different places. And Lana is one of these kids who has basically had to raise herself. And when we meet her, she's not living at home. And so she and Finley are very different. So I love her. But I have to say, I really love the boy in this also. His name's Ben. And one of the things in their chemistry is that they're both really awkward together, and he is very awkward. And from the beginning, he like calls out his own awkwardness. So that's something that I really liked about him, that I think so much when you're younger in particular and you're crushing on someone and you have all these crazy thoughts, running through your head, you're second guessing everything that you say. For someone to actually acknowledge that, like to say something and then be like, I can't believe I just said that, like this sort of, it's this intimacy that really gets him and Finley close pretty quickly. There's sort of like this way of sort of addressing your own awkwardness in your own, and sort of nullifying it by just talking about it. So I kind of love that. Normally I would not pick the guy as like my favorite, but he's so there's just something so endearing about that. But I really love Lana. And then we have sort of the other girl who's sort of she's getting ready to get married. She's going to be a very young bride. She's Finley's cousin. She's like a big self-help person, So I do have so much fun with the side characters because I think you can do more with them. You need for your main character, your narrator, to be level-headed enough that the reader feels like they're safe with that person, as much as I would have liked to write a whole book from like Deb's point of view, like my editor literally had to like wind me back with Deb and What Happened to Goodbye. She's like, this is not her book. You need to stop. Like, just focus on McLean, because it's so fun with those people. But I think when you do sort of move them to center stage and try to write from their point of view, it makes it harder. I kind of came upon this with the second book, where the girl's name is Daisy. And I initially wrote it, I wanted her to be very uptight and very rigid, and then she loosens up as the book goes on. But everybody reading it was like, God, I really don't like her. She's so rigid and she's so tight. So it's a lot easier to do it when it's somebody off to the side. And you can kind of filter them through your narrator's awareness, being like, oh, she's really uptight, but I can see underneath that she, XYZ. So it's tricky. That's why it's so fun to do. And I always talk about Boo and Stewart in Dreamland are like my favorite secondary characters because, they were just so quirky and fun to write. And it's where you can kind of like stretch out a little bit as a writer and just, and if you have these people, you have a character, why not make them interesting? That you don't want them to just be the generic cookie cutter neighbor. Like you can give them a little bit of personality.
Yeah, exactly. We say all the time that we love a little weirdo. Like anytime there's a little, we're like, oh, our little weirdo.
Little weirdo. And we're all little weirdos, Yeah. I mean, anyone who isn't is not our people, who wouldn't admit that. But I do too. And I think there's so much, I have to say, like with this generation, my daughter's generation, even you guys being younger, there's so much more of an embrace of your weirdness and your awkwardness and how it makes you unique. And, that old expression from the 60s, like, let your freak flag fly, and I feel like the younger people, I sound like I'm like shaking a cane at some kids on my yard, but, there's a lot more of an embrace. Like I see this with my daughter and her friends. They're just so much more comfortable being themselves than my friends and I ever were at 18. Like, you don't like me? That's fine. You think I'm a nerd? That's fine. I don't care. I have my people. And some of that's probably bravado, but I don't think it all is. I think there's an acceptance of it, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, 100%.
That is really cool.
The kids are all right, as they say.
I know. I knew that was going to happen. Can I tell you the backstory? I really wanted to put that up behind me because I've had it. This it's from the Truth About Forever. It's from an old Borders. They gave it to me when the Borders closed here. Anyway, so I usually have this picture of my deceased dog that my husband painted up there, but I was like, I'm going to put this up, and it was like this whole thing. My husband came over and he was like, all right, well, this is how you should do it. He's a carpenter, and he hates when I enlist him in sneaky ways to do things for me. So he just like was being really hands off about this. He's like, here's what I think you should do. You should do it. And I was like, I've got this. I don't need your help. I'm fine. And you can tell it fell down because if I had used him, it would not. This is marriage.
We won't tell him that he was right.
Oh my God. He's always right about everything. It's the absolute worst. It's like, you have to have one person who's kind of the mess and the other person with the broom who's like and he's definitely the broom person. He is the solid, but that's hilarious. He's going to laugh. I tried, I put my act together for you guys. You would not believe. I really tried to move things around and make it look, but then things are going to fall down in the middle. Okay.
That was appropriate since we're here talking change of plans. There you go.
We're here talking it's how you react. It's not what happens to you. It's how you react to what happens to you. Yeah,
exactly.
So there you go. I'll just put the picture of Elwood back up there and be happy with it, and just know he was meant to be there. So
yeah, exactly. We love that. We love it. We are big dog people.
We are.
Oh.
I got mine right here. Looking cute. We did want to ask too, you're going on book tour. And remember last time we talked, you were like, I miss book tour so much. And now you get to go back on one, which is exciting. What is something that you miss the most that you're most excited for?
I really just miss talking to my readers. I mean, I think, writing can be very lonely even when you're not in a pandemic, but always the touring was a way of kind of getting back out and seeing people. Like, you sort of go away and write, and then you get to go out and see people. Because otherwise, you never get to see the effect of all of this. And I just went to Pittsburgh for the Winter Institute, the American Booksellers Association. And it was the first time I'd done anything since fall 2019. And I will be real with you guys, like, it got dark around here for a while because I was between publishers. We were sending out these books and people just literally were not buying what we were selling. Like, they were just like, we love Sarah, but would she write a romantasy? We love Sarah, but would she write, we have a great idea for her. Can we pitch it to her? Will she? And then she could write it. And my agent Lee and I have been together since the very beginning. She sold that summer. She was like, no, this is what Sarah does. She's built a whole career doing this. And if you don't want it, then we're going to find somebody who does. But there was a period there where it really didn't feel like I was going to have another book out. And I can very specifically remember being like, oh my God, like all of these years and all of this work and 14 books, and now it's just done. So, and compounded with the fact that I wasn't doing any events or anything, it really did feel like it was just over, and then I go, after all this time and everything, I go to Pittsburgh and I am signing books for all these booksellers, and I end up with this long line and like all these people that are like, oh my gosh, your books meant a lot to me in high school, or oh my gosh, I have this best memory of my friend and I reading. And it warmed my heart so much, and I think I appreciate it so much more this time around. Yeah. It's like the bonus round, when you really think that everything has fallen out from under you. I mean, I felt like I just really wasn't a writer, for the past few years. Like, people would be like, what do you do? And I was like, oh, I write books, but I don't have a publisher. I used to write books. I used to go on book tour. I used to do all these things. So that was really the best part. And what I'm really looking forward to is that communing with readers. Because, I love to read. I love to talk to people about books. I get really excited when I talk about what I'm reading. And so to talk to people who are that excited about my books is just the most amazing thing. And kind of going out and seeing what all this hard work results in, which is like all these people. And I'm hopeful, I don't know if this is going to happen, but because it's the first book in 7 years, that there may be some younger people that haven't even read a lot of my other books, but may discover, me through this. And this may be their first experience, so I'm looking forward to that too. And I'm also really looking forward to the fact that my original readers, a lot of them have teenage girls themselves now. Yeah. So that's the crazy,
Great. Yeah.
I mean, this one, I don't know if you guys saw it, my cousin Anna, who often, I know she listens to you guys. So, hey, Anna, shout out.
Hey, Anna.
She polices a lot of my social media. Like, she'll report things to me that I wouldn't see otherwise. But she found this girl who's going to name her daughter Dessen because she loved the name Auden. And she said if she ever had a girl or she was ever a baby, she was going to name it Dessen, which I think is just hard for me to process, because nobody calls me Dessen except like my husband when he's annoyed with me or whatever. Like, come on, Dessen, get it together. But that level of like, the books have been around for long enough for that to be happening. And even like other people, naming their kids Remy. I've had a lot of dogs named after my characters, which I'm a huge dog person myself. So it's really fun. And I think I'm going to appreciate it so much more,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm so grateful for my friends and family who kind of saw me through. I know everybody's dealt with dark stuff over the last few years, but I was pretty depressed for a while there. And when you get in that cone of depression where it's like this tunnel vision, you can't see out of it. It's really hard to see that things will get better with therapy and meds and time. And, so I try to be really proactive talking about that, because I feel like when you've been there and you get out of it and you can report back, you want to like encourage everyone who is possibly in that same space, So that's another thing, just kind of going out and talking to people. I'm really excited.
Yeah, I could 100% see that. That's what, obviously we have a whole podcast because we just wanted to talk about your books. That's the best part is like talking to people about it. You're like, hey, I read this thing. I want to talk about this thing. All I can think about right now is this thing.
I know, and I read a lot on my own because I'm not in any book clubs because I just don't. I'm just not a person who is disciplined enough to be in a book club. But when I finish a book and then I don't have anyone to talk to about it, it just makes me crazy, you know. So I'm always like, if I see somebody, like when I was at ABA, I saw somebody that was reading. They had a stack, and one of the books was the book I was reading right at that moment, which was Culpability by Bruce Holsinger. And it was all I could do to contain myself. Like I just almost ran over to them and busted in on their conversation that they were having at this table because I was just like, I want to tell you how much I love that book. But I didn't. But if there was ever a time you could do that, it's at a booksellers convention because that's totally what they do for a living. But yeah, books connect us in a really cool way for sure.
They do.
100%. 100%.
I was just at a Flyleaf last weekend, actually.
Yes.
Yes. I'm
I'm
moving to Durham next month.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to Durham this afternoon. That is so awesome.
Yeah.
We'll be neighbors.
Really I know.
Neighbors.
I was like, I kind of like live in Lakeview now.
Yes, you do. That is great. No, that's awesome. I probably was at Flyleaf last weekend too. I'm at Flyleaf. It's funny. I went there the day that we announced the tour. My daughter needed something, so we went by there to get it. And they were like on the phone with people calling about the tour when I walked in the door, and I was like, "Tell them I said hi." You know, like people that were calling to ask questions. But you're good. Where are you living right now? Are you in South Carolina, or where do I think you are? South Carolina.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't think it's that different. I mean, I don't know. I think regionally, I'm sure that it is, but temperature-wise, weather, that kind of season, it's not going to be that different.
That's true.
Yeah.
And so much is happening in Durham. You're going to love Durham. There's so much to do there and so much happening that's cool.
I know. I'm so excited. We were there last weekend, just getting everything settled in. All the events, the library puts on so many great events, and it's just like very community focused, I feel like. So I'm really excited to get down there.
And if you like theater, like my daughter is a total musical theater person. So we go to DPAC a lot to see shows, and they have a really good Broadway series that comes through. And there's a lot they just announced this season coming up, and there's going to be lots of good stuff coming. So
and it's a nice theater.
Yeah.
I've been there once, can confirm it's very lovely.
It's very lovely. I've been there several times because my daughter is completely musical theater obsessed. So, I've seen more musicals in the last couple of years than I think my whole life.
We love a theater girly. Yes.
Oh my God.
Sounds like my kind of people.
That's what she's applying for in college. And it's been this gauntlet of pre-screens and auditions. And it's been really tough. And she's a trooper and she really wants to do it. And I feel like a lot of the other parents I meet are like, you really think she's going to have I'm the arts, am I right? Like they'll say to me and I'm like, well, nobody thought that I was going to be, coming out of Chapel Hill, North Carolina. I never ended. Thank God for my parents that, that my parents were very, my brother's a trombonist, and now he's in academia, but he also still plays jazz trombone. So we were lucky. We kind of came up with parents that really did believe in the arts. And my dad just passed away. And so that's been hard and weird and something I did not have on my bingo card again, even though he was 90, but it just happened very quickly. But it's another thing that's fun about all this book stuff is that he was really excited. And for the past 7 years, he's been like, what's going on with the book? What's going on with the book? And so, he would be very excited that this is all happening now.
Oh, I love that. That makes my heart so happy. Yes.
I know.
Yeah, support your kids' dreams of being in the arts. If no one did, then no one would ever be in the arts. When
to do it, when to go for something like that, if not in your 20s or, when you're young. It's one thing. I was waiting tables trying to get published when I was, 23, 24. If I was 44, 45, that maybe at some point somebody should intervene and be like, this may not happen for you. But at the time, my dad was like, we'll pay your health insurance and your car insurance for another year, while you try to do this, because we don't want you to be uninsured.
Honestly.
So he was very sympathetic. Yes, fair point. Dad was always very practical about that, I will make sure that you are insured, but then the rest is up to you, So I was lucky. I think I made him very proud, and that makes me happy.
Yeah, 100%.
I would say you probably did, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I hope so.
I think it all worked out. In the end. You know what I mean? All right. Michael Ann, do we have any more? We have our, okay, yes. Like I'm calling serious questions. And then questions. We do. I just remembered. Okay. Yes. So music, we discussed last time we met up, we discussed, Abbott Brothers, loving them. We discussed a little Tom Petty. We discussed music and stuff. And music obviously has come up quite a bit in different novels. Was there anything that you gravitated listening to while working on this novel? And also, like, if you could come up with a soundtrack for this, like, what's the vibe? What kind of music are we listening? What is Change of Plans to you musically?
Well, I would say there's a big element of Dolly Parton in this book, just because at the restaurant where Finley ends up working, they only play Dolly Parton for various reasons that are explained later. But it's like that's all that they play. And there's this one particular Dolly Parton song that when I was really down in the dumps and I was really struggling a lot, it's called Light of a Clear Blue Morning. I don't know if you know that song. She just did a remake sort of recently, which I don't think was as good as the original. But it's just one of those songs like, Three Little Birds by Bob Marley, Don't Give Up, Peter Gabriel, and then Light of a Clear Blue Morning. Just a really hopeful song, and it plays a part in the book. It's sort of threaded through it. It's tricky when you want to use a song in a book, but there's the whole thing about like not using too much of it, so you don't, you're not taking somebody else's words. But that's definitely sort of the song of the book. Okay. And then as far as other music, I mean, there is a band in the book. Ben the boy is a guitarist, and so there's sort of this kind of this ragtag group of musicians. But if somebody asked me this the other day, and I said, for me it's like Light of a Clear Blue Morning, and then the other soundtrack would be whatever the big song of the summer is for whatever summer you're reading this book, because that's what it sort of is how there's like that one song for every summer, especially when you're younger. It just brings everything back. Like, I remember listening to that by the pool. I remember listening to that with my friends when I was driving down the back roads at night, And I don't use a lot of real music. As you know, I try not to, because I think music, and ever since Just Listen, because music is so personal. Dolly Parton, I feel like, is just forever beloved, though. So, I didn't feel bad about using her. And then in the next book that's set at the club, I got to make up all the music. So that was really cool.
I'm excited for that.
I was
looking.
I love making up a band name, band names are my favorite. So but with this one, I would say, the Dolly Parton thing is a real through line. And I kind of owe that. Julie Murphy and Dumplin' actually is one of my favorite books of all time. And that is also a very Dolly heavy book.
Yes.
I think there's enough of Dolly to go around for everybody. And this wasn't a song that I knew. Like, she's got such a vast catalog, and this song just sort of popped up when I was really struggling. And there are all these covers. But it's such a hopeful song. And so I don't know. That's the one. That's what I keep telling people.
Well, Dolly is timeless, 100%. She could be for
everything.
Yeah,
she's everything.
Like Dolly.
That's it. She's everything.
She's everything. That was a great way of putting it. All right, Michael Ann, any more serious questions before we get to the silly stuff?
I feel like we
also
really
they're kind of serious, but
kind of serious, kind of not serious.
Yeah.
No, I think I'm so excited for both of these, all three of them, but especially the two. Now we know what these two are about. And I'm like,
I need to get you guys copies of the new book. I thought that they had sent them to you. I feel remiss.
No.
So I'm gonna get you guys to send me a mailing address, and I will get on that, because
oh my goodness,
I want you guys to have early copies. Yeah, you totally should.
What an honor.
I think it was meant. It's probably I dropped a ball somewhere. I was probably supposed to get your address. But anyway, I will rectify that, and we will get some books out to you, so you can you can read it before everybody else.
Oh my goodness, what an honor. We're like,
my dreams are coming true.
But seriously. Okay, so here's what we're kind of calling the lightning round, which isn't really, we can take as long or as little time as you want to talk about it. Okay, so we, obviously a couple of your novels, as we've discussed before, have been adapted into film. So we want to know, obviously with Change of Plans coming out, Finley is kind of our girl. We want to know who would be like a fan cast view for Finley, but also because Deb is near and dear to our hearts. Who in your mind would play Deb in a movie?
Yes.
Well, I'm so bad because I don't know the names of a lot of these younger actors. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there are people. God, as far as Finley, I don't know. You know, I mean, I haven't. I'll think of something as soon as we, stop talking.
Yeah.
It will just pop into my head. But I don't watch a lot of stuff with teenage characters. I mean, that have a lot of teen actors. I feel like I should be watching more Euphoria, Summer I Turned Pretty, all that kind of stuff. To Euphoria, I tried, but it was a little heavy for me. I had
Yeah, we also were not, and this is I'm sure everyone that worked on Euphoria is great, but it was not for us either.
No. I will still talk about Euphoria for a while.
Yeah, one of the greatest gifts in life is just finding what is not you in so many ways. Yeah. Like, it's like Amy Poehler says, "Good for you, not for me." Like, yay you! Yeah. Please go enjoy that. But I know. Yeah. So I think I will always say I think my readers are much better at casting than I am. Yeah. If we were casting adults, but if I was, someone like Deb, I mean, if I was sort of thinking about like a more of an adult character or an adult actor that I could relate to, like, I don't know, it would have to be somebody like, because to me, Deb's her own person, that's the thing. It's like, I see Deb in my mind when I think of Deb. I don't see somebody playing her.
Yeah.
That's why it's good I'm not casting. I'd be a terrible casting.
Or like some unknown or something.
Yeah.
I feel like, honestly, Deb, I don't want to be like, oh, this person from such and such is playing Deb. I would want her to just be Deb.
Right. It's like Heated Rivalry. Like, we don't know those.
Cast some unknowns.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. And Heated Rivalry is another thing we haven't started. And I'm like, I feel like I'm out of the loop with Heated Rivalry. Everybody has watched that except for me. So I got to get on that. And Belle, I'm calling Belle because I have the Along for the Ride poster over here. But Belle, who played Eli on Along for the Ride, he's got a hockey show that's coming out on Prime called Off Campus, which is also based on a series, like a hockey series.
I've seen this. Yes. Yeah.
So I'm super excited for that for him because he has a big role in that, and he's like one of the most genuinely wonderful humans on the planet. So I really hope it catches on.
We wish success for him. Yeah, I saw something about that, and I'll be tuning in. I'll be watching.
I'll be like promoting it on my channel for whatever channel I have, which is like not much of a social media presence these days. But yeah, I think again, when I think of the characters, and I think of what they look like to me and who they, but I'm always open to hear what other people think, for sure.
Yeah.
Deb. I don't know a lot of young actors either. If I was fan casting, it would be like Hilary Duff, but from 2007.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah. Well, it's like Adam Brody always being Dexter in my mind.
Yes, in my brain.
Like he was on the OC when that was happening, and everybody was like, Adam Brody. And so I watched Nobody Wants This Now, and I'm like, he's a rabbi. Like,
look at Dexter. He's a rabbi.
Dexter's a rabbi. But that was sort of just perfect, and back then I was younger and I was watching, 90210, I was watching, the OC and all that kind of stuff. But now I'm of a certain age that I don't watch as much of that stuff. Although, I did tune into a lot of Summer I Turned Pretty because I'm a big Jenny Han fan. So,
that was really cute.
North Carolina.
Yeah. Yes, North Carolina. Got to cheer for it in UNC.
Who works at UNC was like in the building when they were filming on campus, and so she was like taking creeper shots for me and like sending.
It was so crazy that I remember that really well because it was summertime and my husband and I were here and we were just like, what is happening? Like it was just it's very exciting. Like many years ago, Robin Williams filmed a movie here in the summer called Patch Adams, which was not one of his best movies, but that was the last time we had that much excitement in terms of
big celebrity sighting.
Especially in the summer. Not a lot is happening in the summer around here, which is nice. That's why it gets really we like it.
Okay, Michaeline, you have to ask this next one because I love the way you phrased it.
This is one of the questions that kind of came up for us while we were reading a book, and we were like, write that down. We gotta know.
Right.
But we were thinking, what's the deal with McCollum McCulkey?
We don't know if we're saying his name right. McClatchy.
McCollum McClatchy.
What's the deal with the pretentious Irish plow? We wanna know where that came from.
Wait, I don't even know what that. Hold on, you got to refresh my memory.
Okay.
It's so random.
It's so random. But
I'm embarrassed that I don't remember my own book. Then this is horrible.
Okay, so this is from Once and For All. Leo is like very pretentious, like. He's like, oh, you got to be reading whatever.
Oh, and this is like, his Irish writer thing. Yes, yes. Yeah. So for me, that is always, coming up as an English major, but also in the creative writing program at UNC, which I love. But I had some people, you always meet that one person. Oh, there goes my earbud. You always meet that one person who it's kind of like it's the same way with music. It's like they're always reading something that is much more intellectual than what you're reading and so much darker and so much deeper. Or they're listening to music you've never even heard of because by the time people hear it, it's not cool anymore. So it's always fun to sort of skewer that kind of thing. So I'm sure that's where it came. Because Theo, of course, I can imagine just being somebody who, is referencing fiction writers that are, so if not obscure, but like someone who's going to spend their summer reading, James Joyce when it's like, who's doing that really, So I'm sure McCollum McClatchy, yes, that totally tracks for me. And I can go down a weird rabbit hole of like making up fake books. Like I have a couple of books that didn't work. I have one book in particular that I was working on even up until last year. And I made up this whole book for this book. And it was like very specific. And often I steal things I like literally will be looking around my office here. And I needed the name of like a really classic sort of, Austen era kind of book. And so I decided to call it Lady Moore Visits because I had Mandy Moore on my wall from How to Deal. So I created this whole book, Lady Moore Visits. And then I created another book called Delphi, which was supposed to be this huge, like universe expanding, because again, it's much more fun to make up things than to actually.
Yes.
And I think that's the other thing, like with Theo, it's like, okay, are you going to say you're going to pick somebody who then anybody that reads that writer is going to be offended that I said, whoever you would pick. Like some people that feel that way about Jonathan Franzen, some people feel that way about David Foster Wallace, that it's just sort of like this obscure, incredibly literary. But I know, you don't want to insult people. Like, I mean, if you love what you love, again, love what you love. So it's much more fun to make up something because then you can kind of make fun of it without anybody's feelings getting hurt.
Yeah. We resonated with that a lot as two women who also sat in creative writing courses in college. We're like, oh, we know this guy. Oh, we know. Right. And like, whatever they're reading is smarter than you. And like, when you're all having to like peer review each other's works and their work is like, so you're like, okay, yeah. What nice thing can I say about this?
Right. And it's so hard in college. Looking back, you're able to see, we're all just trying so hard to be the adults that we want to be at that point, And I think all those workshops, they really did prepare me well for, life in publishing and for reviews and for nasty comments online and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think, there's always going to be that sort of pretentious personality that is a little fun to poke fun at. But again, it's much more fun to make. I can't believe I didn't remember McCollum McClatchy because it does sound exactly like a name.
I'm like, what a great name.
It was so funny. We loved that little detail.
Yes, his debut novel takes place over the course of one workday in a potato field, and the point of view is from a plow. Like we were cracking it.
I was like, that's incredible.
Incredible. Like that's. I'd read it. I would read it though.
Yeah.
Not just
if you ever had to sit through the workshopping of some story that was just so dense and beyond your comprehension, and you're just like, am I stupid or is this good? Like I don't even know.
Yeah, I'm not sure which.
It's a little bit both. I don't know.
We've all felt that 100%. Okay. This is another one that's important to us, having read obviously all of the novels. The Jason redemption arc. I never thought I would one day be like, Jason's one of my favorite characters.
Oh, I know.
But I enjoy the Jason redemption arc. And I just want to know what made you think like, I'm going to bring back Jason. I'm going to redeem him. Like, where did that come from?
It was honestly somebody on Twitter, just this random comment of someone that followed me that was like, whatever happened to Jason Talbot? Like, would you ever I want to know. I want to know what happened to him. And I started really thinking about it like, okay, here's this guy who you knew in high school who had everything all together, and was like the one that the teachers had sort of earmarked, like, this is the one, he's going to go and he's going to do amazing things in life. And what if that didn't happen? What if it's the ultimate change in plans? Like, you are groomed to be, the great hope of your high school. And then it doesn't happen. And we see him pop up again in Along for the Ride, sort of distantly breaking Odin's heart to go. He's still kind of a jerk at that point. But I loved him popping up into What Happened to Goodbye, and that we don't really know what happened. I mean, we know that he was this shining bright light, and now we know he's working in a restaurant and hanging out at the library during the day. But the most important thing was that he seems like he's doing okay. I think, again, talking about just high school and the pressure to know what you're doing with your life, the pressure to know what you're doing with your life when you're a freshman in college, even, like, first thing everybody asks you when you get to campus, what's your major? And half people end up switching their majors anyway. You don't know, so that really interested me, because I think it's always the zag that I am into. Like, how do people end up? I love hearing people's stories. And what would it, like, in my mind, Jason, my dad went to Harvard, right? And he was a kid from Baltimore, from a family without a lot of money. And he went to Harvard, and he always would tell me that there were kids that got to Harvard. This was in the 50s, but there were kids that got to Harvard who had been the stars of their high school. And they got to Harvard, and everyone on their floor was exactly the same person, but from their own high school, And he said a lot of people crashed and burned. They just couldn't take it because they were so used to being this huge fish in this little pond, and that sort of got me thinking about Jason. Like, did he go off to MIT or Stanford and realize, oh my God, I'm not the smartest person in the room anymore? Or did he just get burned out? Because I can see that happening too when you're push yourself that hard, or God forbid, we don't know what hands were pushing him. I mean, his parents were pretty intense too. So, that's the thing about college. Like, you get away from sort of the enclosure of your family and living under your parents' roof. And I saw this happen with so many of my students that I would meet when they were like sophomores, and then I'd see them at seniors, and they were like a totally different person, because they had kind of bloomed into this person they couldn't be. So, I think Jason but it was just this girl being like, I want to know what happened to Jason. And I thought, gosh, I kind of want to know what happened to Jason. So, I wish I remembered her name or her handle or anything like that. She probably got no idea.
Yeah, thank you, Twitter girl on Twitter, because you gave us, I think, a good storyline for him. I think it reminds me of that meme that's like gifted kid to anxiety. Like, that's what Jason kind of reminds me of, like gifted kid. And we've all, like, I think, can kind of relate to that. And then, you get to college and you're like, oh God, I'm not who I thought. And then I love that, he was like a line cook, but like, he was the nicest, like most level-headed he'd ever been. I was like, yes,
just happy within himself, And I think, I get the sense that there's a lot of story there, but that, and who knows, maybe I'll pull Jason out in a later story. Maybe he'll pop up somewhere. But, I think there's so many different ways you can go after high school. And I think that's the thing. I mean, I think a lot of people are sort of frozen in amber the way that we remember them, senior year or whatever. I live in my hometown though, so I've seen the other side. Like, I saw, a lot of people who went off and then came back, or, whatever. It's, you see, it's the long game. That's all it is all the time.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, Jason.
Oh,
Jason. We do.
It's like crazy, but what I think about when you were talking about that, I was like, okay, so like Rory Gilmore in the revival of Gilmore Girls.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
What if Rory was like, working at Target and just happily reading in the break room, or, doing something that's totally maybe not, I mean, I get it. Like, my daughter wants to do musical theater, but you just never know. Like, follow that dream, but it can take you to places you never would have expected. Not everybody's meant to, go up, 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 up. And even people that you think are going up, 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 they're not. It's not linear. None of it is. And people are just good at pretending otherwise. We need 100%. To tell people the truth. There's nothing linear here. This is just all, we're just riding the waves. That's all you can do.
Exactly.
This is a random question that I just thought of, but what's your daughter's favorite show? Does she have one?
Oh God, I'm gonna get it wrong, probably. Well, what is her favorite show? She loves Legally Blonde, although I don't think that she's seen that one live. The first show we ever took her to was Mean Girls on Broadway, and she loved Mean Girls. I can't believe I'm blanking on her favorite show. She's going to be so angry at me. But we went and saw Hamilton together. We just went to New York and saw Maybe Happy Ending, which was fantastic.
Oh, I've heard good things. Yeah.
And we saw Just in Time with Jonathan Groff, and we saw Chess with Leah Michele. So it was like the whole Glee experience.
Yeah.
She's like a big Glee person. Gosh, I will remember as we're talking, because I feel like I've been asked this question before, and she's always like, "I can't believe you didn't remember like, this." She loves Into the Woods. I know she's big into Sondheim. She played Mrs. Lovett last year in Sweeney Todd, so that's definitely one of her favorites. So she's got the bug, and I'm just like, okay, she wants to go to New York and do the whole thing. So we'll just see what happens. We're in the thick of it right now, hearing about school, so it's stressful.
Good for her, though. That's amazing.
Yeah,
I love that. I could have never done that.
I keep saying I think she'd be good at writing. I think she is good at writing, but she has told me with no abandon, like, no, I am not interested. I do not want to be a writer like you. Okay, that's fine.
Okay, fine. That's fine.
You just do you.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. All right.
Okay. Another question similar to the Jason question.
Yes.
And you might not have an answer. You might not have thought about this for a while, but where would Gwendolyn Rogers be today?
Oh, gosh.
No, we're really throwing a deep.
You are
going back. We think about Gwendolyn Rogers a lot, though. I don't even know.
I do think about Gwendolyn Rogers.
We're obsessed with her.
Yeah.
In my mind, Gwendolyn Rogers has had a family, has had kids. And, I love the idea of her maybe working with teens in some way. Like either she's raising teenagers or she's somehow involved with teenagers. I see that with Caitlin, too, from Dreamland. Like, I think maybe that's just me, like what I think of them. But, I don't see her working in anything having to do with fashion or any stuff like that. Like, I see her more, maybe she's teaching high school science, maybe something like that. Like, maybe she's that teacher that you have that's really tall and you're like, what? And someone tells you after school one day, she used to be a model. No way. And people are like pulling up her stuff on the internet, I kind of love that idea. I love the idea of a secret life that, but I based her on Gwendolyn Gillingham. I think I told you guys, who was a women's basketball player that I used to see walking around here. And I think she went on to have a couple of roles in music videos and stuff like that. We should see what she's doing now. I don't know.
Yeah, what is she doing? I hope she's doing well as well.
I'm sure she is. I'm sure she's doing great. But it's so funny to think about these people going on from way back when.
Yeah. Yeah, we're always like, I hope Gwendolyn Rogers is doing well. And I think she is. In my mind, she is, for sure.
In my mind, everybody is okay and everybody's still together. That's what I think. Yeah. Oh, everybody's still together in my mind and everyone's doing all right, and there are bumps in the road, but everyone's hanging in there okay. And that's what I think I told you guys last time, like instead of doing sequels, because I didn't have an interest in doing a sequel. That's why bringing people back is kind of nice, because you can sort of see, okay, everybody's good, we're all good here.
Little check-ins.
So. Yeah.
A little check-in every once in a while. All right, this one is really silly. This is we're gonna end a couple more questions, and they're all kind of, this one is probably the silliest question we're gonna ask. Okay, so I know that like myself, you are a big basketball fan. You kind of have to be because you're UNC alum and you live in Chapel Hill.
Exactly.
They'd throw you out if you weren't.
They'd take my card away. Yeah, exactly.
They're like, can't do it. So March Madness, 'tis the season of March Madness. Last year, I made a PowerPoint presentation, no lie, where I gave everyone in the Sweet 16 a pop star. So if you didn't understand basketball, I was going to explain it to you in pop star terms. So I made my Florida Gators Lady Gaga, and my rationale was hit the scene, in the early aughts, big hits, two natties, 07, 06, 07, then kind of disappeared, still there, but kind of disappeared a little bit, and then came back real big with Abracadabra last year, So I would be honored if you could give me, for this year, I'm going to do it again, if you could give me UNC, who you would like them to be represented by in the pop world.
Oh my God. Well, I may have to get some help from you guys with this. So let's think about it. Like somebody who has been around a long time.
Yeah, long time.
But, a long time in terms of, and has had really good years and really not great years, and often vacillates between like the hit album and the album that totally tanks.
Yeah.
Because we have some seasons where we just like implode on, and often the ones where we are highly ranked, we just come in and, so these wild swings of sort of, but this also a sense of the fans not caring about that.
Yeah, always going to be there. Always going to kind of be a big star.
Always going to be a big star, and people are going to follow you, whatever weird,
Maybe like a Madonna. Like Madonna's been in it for a long time.
Yeah, like Madonna or something like that. Like maybe a little bit more recent than Madonna, but I don't know. I mean,
Britney Spears. I feel like kind of, but like Britney Spears has kind of gone a little off the rails. So maybe not. We don't wish that for UNC.
Still recording. What about like Miley Cyrus?
Yeah,
that's
great.
Yes. Nice long career. Definitely had successes.
We knew her as a child, know her after a divorce. We saw her during Bangers when she was sort of the whole Robin Thicke thing. It's a long, but she has this raw, amazing talent, and Dolly Parton is her godmother.
Yes. So, I think, that's great. Yeah.
I wouldn't have gotten there without you guys.
We had to brainstorm it out together. But yes.
It was good.
All right.
Yes.
I'm marking Miley Cyrus down.
You need to send me this so I know. So I can.
Okay.
My daughter and I will follow this because she'll care much more about that. Like
it's a fun way to do it. I had last year, which I assume Houston will probably be pretty good this year as well. I picked Beyonce because she's from Houston, but then it also worked. Because like Houston has made it to many Final Fours, but they've like Beyonce she's one of the biggest artists of all time, but has never until last year won the Grammy for Album of the Year. So I was like, Houston, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. But then now they won Album of the Year. So I was like, I don't know. Is that a precursor? Is it Houston's year this year?
I don't know.
We'll
we just don't know. I want to know who you picked for Duke. That's what I want to know because of course that's the most,
Yeah, that's the most fun. I can't remember who I picked last year. I may have been so anyone I didn't like, I made Drake.
Right.
Which again, not to yuck anyone's yum, but like so if I found anyone like I was like, oh, I don't like Duke, I don't like Tennessee made it far last year and I don't jive with them. So I was like, I'm sorry, you're Drake.
Yeah.
I would
I think for people who don't, like we used to do this the pools at the burrito at the restaurant where I work. And invariably, the person that won the pool was the person who knew nothing about basketball. Who just sat down with their bracket and just picked ones that they liked. Like my friend Ashley, that was like, I just like how this one sounds,
Yeah.
And then she ends up winning the whole thing
without fail.
Everyone's like, the people who are very scientific about it never works that way.
You can't put too much logic into it.
Yeah.
I am the person who guesses and wins.
Yeah. Michael Ann is that person. Yeah.
And I want to say that Duke would be Gwen Stefani. And I have a lot of reasons for that.
Okay. Yes, that's good. I'm stealing that
that's
for this
a good
year.
One. Yeah.
I'm putting them down. I'm writing this down right now.
Because always surprising. Like the Blake Shelton thing you never saw coming. Like, if you followed her from No Doubt days and, I'm just a girl and coming from like the California ska, that she would marry Blake Shelton.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
I could see that. I'm using that for this year. Duke's going to be Gwen Stefani. It's decided.
Nice
we now
job.
have Duke and we now have UNC. I'm excited.
All right. It's on.
I'm excited. March Madness can start now. We picked our sponsors. Michael Ann, would you like to hit us with our last couple questions here? Or I think, you had the one about, don't doing a great job explaining that we have two more, I think.
Well, we kind of do this thing at the end of every episode nowadays.
Yeah. No, it
where
is.
we talk about something that's brought us joy the past week.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so we want to know, what is your thing bringing you little slivers of joy throughout the day?
What is bringing me little slivers of joy? Well, I have this love-hate relationship with the wildlife in my neighborhood, in my yard. Like, I love the hummingbirds. The hummingbirds and I are like BFFs forever. But every time I try to get really into feeding the other birds, the raccoons come and ruin it for everybody, So I stopped feeding the birds last year because I was like, this is awful. The raccoons come and they just, they ruin everything. But then I decided that I was somewhere where they had birdseed, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to try this again. I'm going to see what happens. So I had this bird feeder that was out there that had literally been hanging there empty for a year. Like, nobody had nothing in it at all. And I hadn't seen a single bird. And so I went and I filled it up, and I thought, it'll take them a couple of weeks to probably find it. It'd take them, they haven't been around. Literally, I'm walking back to the house and I look over my shoulder and there are 2 birds there. Like, it's almost like they were watching me.
Waiting,
like, it's back, she did it.
Our time has come.
Yes, our time has come. So the bird feeder has brought me like a strange amount of joy. And so far the raccoons have not. I mean, they definitely are prowling because I see them on our Nest Cam. But for some reason, they haven't been able to completely ruin it for everybody yet, which often is what happens, Then you get into like possums, and this whole thing is just, being out in the country. You start feeding one thing, you end up feeding everything. But so I would say my bird feeder has brought me like a lot of joy for some reason.
Yes.
There's something about birds that is very like symbolic and spiritual and soothing, So that would be my thing right now.
I love that. Yes. I love a good bird feeder. My parents are trying to fight off the squirrels with theirs. And my dad like takes great pride in like figuring out how to outsmart them, which lasts for like a week. And then they're back. They're back to eating it.
It's so frustrating. It's like you want to just feed the birds, but you realize it is a whole ecology, you can't just be like,
they're all out there.
The pretty little birds. I don't know if you've seen those reels where the people have like these beautiful, like, basically like it's a buffet for the bird that they put out, and they show all these cute birds. And my husband's like, if we put all that, we would have like so many raccoons. We would have possums. We would have foxes. Like, they would destroy any of that beautiful, like, laid out buffet.
I want to know where these people live, because it's not real.
Yes, it's not here. And I will say the other thing that is bringing me a lot of joy, and this is completely on the other end of the spectrum, is the America's Next Top Model documentary series on Netflix.
Yes.
That has been bringing me a lot of joy when I get to watch it. It's like, my daughter had me watching the Cat's Eye, the Dream Academy thing, so I got back into sort of, but I came up with America's Next Top Model. Like, I remember watching that show when it was first, cycle 1, So that has been so much fun, and I'm watching it really slowly so that I don't get all the way through it, because then it's going to be gone, and then I won't have it anymore.
It's so intense. It's absolutely really fascinating to me. Absolutely fascinating. But
I remember watching that one woman they talk about a lot, Shanti.
Shanti.
Yes, I remember watching that whole situation go down, like, in real life. And it was crazy to see the other side of it, I will say.
It has not aged well.
No.
It really hasn't. It's just like my daughter watching Glee. I'm like, this is not aged well. And that doesn't even feel like it's that long ago.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, it feels like it was just on yesterday. And I watched like the first season. I'm like, oh, yikes. They said that? I don't remember being like that.
It was unhinged.
Have changed for the better in a lot of ways. Like, things just would not happen that happened back then. But, TV's always going to be that time machine, kind of like captured that particular moment and what was happening, and you're like, what was going on then? That was crazy.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, the early aughts, I think we like don't remember how toxic it really was.
It was the Wild West of reality TV back then.
It really was.
Yeah, because it was a baby at the time. Like, reality TV was just like coming up. So yeah.
Oh my God, I remember watching The Real World, which was really the beginning of it. And I keep having to explain these like tropes of reality shows to my daughter, because she is just discovering them. So she got really into this show. I guess it's called like Becoming Amish or something. And it's like,
Oh yeah.
it's not the one where they take Amish people and put them into the real world. It's the one where they take real world people and put them in the Amish world. And
Suddenly
I was like,
Amish.
this is so not, thank you. Suddenly Amish.
I was like, Michael Ann will know it.
She's like, can you believe this happened? And I'm like, it's so orchestrated by the producers. Like you can tell, like there's not enough happening. Like I'm a big Housewives person. You know, I watched every season of the Housewives up until around the pandemic when I stopped. But I read enough. I just finished Lisa Rinna's memoir, you know, and she's like, if things weren't happening, somebody would just throw a drink in someone's face. You know, the producers would be like, get it going, you know?
Exactly.
So I think if you're coming to it and you haven't had this whole history of watching all of these shows, but you know what the tropes are, you know, like what they do to sort of get people to go at each other and how they'll keep the villain around for longer if it's a competition show. They probably would have gotten eliminated a lot sooner, but otherwise it's boring. You know, you need the villain always.
I'm a reality TV historian at this point, basically.
But Michael Ann knows it all.
Yeah. I could talk for 35 minutes to an hour.
I know. I love it. And I have so much, like, I don't know if I've told, I know I'm going to keep you guys for too long, but I have this skill that my husband is convinced is going to happen. Someday it's going to come and save me in some sort of perilous situation. I have a really good memory for what other people have been in and what their names are and who they are. Like we'll be watching a show and an actor will come on screen and my husband's like, who is that? And I'm like, that is, you know, this person who was married to this person and they started out on this soap. And it's like I read Entertainment Weekly every week for years. And I read every article, even the ones I wasn't that interested in. So I have all this miscellaneous knowledge in my head. Like anytime we're watching any show and I see somebody, I can name who they are. I can tell you some weird random fact about them.
Amazing.
But with reality TV as well, you know, like I know way too much about a lot of these people, especially the housewives. I'm like, I watched their kids grow up, you know, like, I mean, I watched these kids when they were little. And anyway, so at some point there's going to be a bomb that's going to be disassembled. And the only way to disassemble it is to be able to say, who was the guy on Felicity, Scott Speedman, who's now on a new show. My husband's like, I was like, that's Scott Speedman. He's the guy from Felicity. You know, like, Felicity, I know his whole story. Yeah, Felicity, like
love
the way back when machine. So
no one would believe that was one of J.J. Abrams' first things that he ever did.
Yeah.
Looking now what he does now. But
I can't tell you what I did yesterday, but I can tell you. I can tell you that John Hamm was Ellie Kemper's high school drama teacher. Like, or they had some sort of, I swear this is true unless I dreamed it, that when she was in high school, he taught a drama class that she took.
This is crazy. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into this now.
See, I'm just full of useless information. Yeah. But maybe it's not useless. Maybe it's important.
I think,
nothing's useless if it makes you happy.
Exactly.
Yeah,
100%.
That's true.
Agreed. Agreed. All right. One last question before we go. Again, thank you so much for coming on and yapping with us. It has been a blast. We obviously talk about our favorite books on this podcast. We talk about your novels. And as you're kind of mentioning earlier, you're so excited, you know, to discuss books. So we've never really asked you this. Like, what are some of your favorite books of favorite authors? It could be current ones, all time, you know, whatever you feel like sharing. But this is your time to blab on this podcast about books that you want to blab about.
Blab around. Well, I would say like my all-time faves. A Prayer for Owen Meany by John Irving is my favorite book. And it's one of those ones that I've gone back to again and again because I can always find something else amazing in it. I love Ann Tyler books. The Accidental Tourist. These are a little bit older, but just incredible small stories that are also so big about just basic people living in Baltimore, you know, living their lives, but just beautifully, beautifully written. I said I started last year reading The God of the Woods by Liz Moore, which was one of the best books I read all year. And then I ended it reading Heartwood by Amity Gage, which was also an incredibly good book. And they're both sort of about people being lost in the woods. So those were like two of my top. The book that I'm telling everybody to read right now is Severance by Ling Ma, and it's about a pandemic, but it was written before the pandemic. And I know we said we don't want to read pandemic books, but it's so good, and it's one of those books like you'll see it at the bookstore, and it has like a not that impressive cover. It's just like it says it's pink and it has a little wrinkling on it, and it says Severance Ling Ma. So good. That was amazing. And like I said, I've been reading, I just went on a tear with this guy, Bruce Holtzinger. He's got a new book called Culpability, which was an Oprah pick, I think, for one of these months, maybe recently. I just went back and raced through two of his other books, the Gifted School, and then the one I just finished, The Displacements. Both incredibly good. Like, I love when you find an author and you haven't read any of their stuff, and then you realize that they have a backlist, and it's like, oh my God, you just like,
oh, it's the best.
Race to the race. I've done that also with James McBride, who wrote A Heaven and Earth Grocery Store, which is one of those books that everybody was telling me I should read, and I was like, I'm always really resistant like that, because it feels like, stop telling me to read that book. Like,
don't push it on me.
I'm not going to read it just because you told me how much I need to read it. But I broke down and read that book, and it was so good that I went back and read The Good Lord Bird, A Miracle at St. Anna. Like, his stuff is really, really good too. But I read a lot. Like, I just started Emma Straub's new book, which is about a boy band cruise. I just got an early copy of that when I was at
ABA, that's fantastic.
So. I know. It's so good. I am literally, I'm embarrassed that I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but I just started that one. So, but I would say God of the Woods and then Heartwood are two I can really recommend, that sort of bookended my year. But, I love to read. And I started reading to try to get off my phone and to not be down the rabbit hole. I'm not really on
feel that struggle.
Yeah, my husband and I communicate via Reels. He's much more into Reels than I am. But that's all he does, send me Reels all day long. So I'll let myself look at Instagram, but I have to like set a timer because otherwise it gets away from me and I end up feeling all gritty and gross, But reading, I can always carry a book around with me. So it's really fun. So that's sort of, but ask me any day and I'll have a different book. But
I love that, as it should be. An ever-growing library.
Ever-growing library.
But seriously, this has been so fun, you guys. And I just so appreciate all that you have done. And you have read my books more carefully than even I have, or any of my editors, I think, And I want to know what you guys are going to do next. Like, after you read Change Your Plans, what comes next?
That we don't know. We're like, well, okay, so we'll read Change Your Plans. And obviously next year we'll have another one. But we're like, there's probably going to be downtime in between. Yeah. What do we read? I don't know.
We were thinking like, the Princess Diaries series, and
maybe,
the traveling pants, like those kinds of,
or like again, maybe like other like North Carolina author, like in kind of the same. Like, I know obviously a few authors have come from like the same area, the like Raleigh-Durham Triangle. But we're like something kind of like in the same vein of coming of age. We were like, maybe we'll ask Sarah for some recommendations.
I know.
Like, what should we read, Sarah?
Read, like the big YA books of the last however long, and sort of how they stand up. I don't know, like, and especially the ones that maybe did. Like, I love John Green's Looking for Alaska. It's like one of my favorite books.
Good.
So good.
I loved that one. Just books that sort of I don't know.
Yeah. It could be fun to go through. Yeah. Like, what was the number one, like, YA book of a year, and just like pick a year every time and like do something like that. Cause we're like, oh man, we've been kind of like dreading it. We're like, oh man, we're about to be out. Like, I know. What do we do? But thankfully we at least we're like, we have this, and then we know next year we have one. And then, so we're like, we have ones coming down the pipe, which makes us very happy. So, but
so hopefully Change Your Plans will keep you busy for a little while.
Yeah, and for sure. We take things very slowly.
Very slowly.
Well, it's quite an endeavor. You should be very proud of yourself. I mean, that's a lot to cover. So I'm impressed for sure.
Yes, it's been a good ride, and we can't wait to read obviously Change of Plans, and then what we have next year. So thank you again for spending some of your afternoon with us, and everyone out there, keep hating spinnerbait, but keep reading Sarah's books. Bye everyone.